Today, we're going to be diving into a pretty controversial and sensitive topic: the double standards and societal pressures around women's sexual histories, and how that can lead some to try and hide their promiscuous pasts from new partners. Now, before we get started, I want to be very clear that I in no way condone or encourage deception in relationships. Honesty and open communication are absolutely essential for healthy partnerships. However, the reality is that many women do feel the need to conceal or downplay the details of their sexual histories, and I think it's important that we unpack why that is and have an honest discussion about it. The text I'm going to be referencing today comes from an article that was apparently meant to provide tips on how women can hide their promiscuous pasts from new boyfriends. Now, the author isn't sure if this was intended as satire or if it's meant to be taken seriously. But regardless, the suggestions made in the article do seem to reflect real attitudes and behaviors that are out there. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's dive in and take a closer look. The article starts off by describing the phenomenon of women having their relationships end because their new partners find out about their extensive sexual histories. The subtitle even says, "Sometimes the sex is so slamming you can't risk scaring him off." Right away, we see the double standard at play here. Men's sexual histories are generally not scrutinized or judged in the same way. But for women, being perceived as too promiscuous can be a deal-breaker for a lot of guys. And the article seems to be acknowledging and catering to that unfortunate reality. The first tip it provides is to try and find out how many sexual partners your new partner has had. The implication being that if he's had more than you can just stay quiet about your own past. As the article puts it, if it's more than what you've bagged so far, chill, you don't have to say anything. The second tip is even more blatant. It just flat out says lie. The article then suggests following up that lie with an almost virginal act, basically playing the part of an innocent, inexperienced partner. Now, I find this all incredibly troubling. The idea that women should have to deceive their partners and essentially perform a false persona is just wrong on so many levels. It speaks to the immense pressure and stigma that women face around their sexuality. And it's not just about lying. The article also encourages women to promote a couple of bonks to an old boyfriend status. In other words, inflate the importance of past relationships in order to downplay the true number of sexual partners. Again, I want to reiterate that I'm not endorsing any of this. Honesty and authenticity should be the foundation of any healthy relationship. But the fact that the article is even offering these kinds of suggestions shows just how ingrained these double standards are. The text then goes on to talk about how women generally try to conceal their true notch count or number of sexual partners. And it makes an interesting point. There's an intentional element to this, where women don't want to be slut-shamed or held accountable for their sexual choices. But there's also an unintentional element, where women simply don't know how to accurately count or recall their past partners. The article explains that women tend to only really count boyfriends they were in long-term relationships with, and disregard things like one-night stands or casual encounters. So the end result is that women often significantly underreport their true sexual histories. And the article suggests that you can generally multiply a woman's self-reported number by 2 or even 3 to get closer to the reality. Now, I know this is a sensitive and controversial topic, and I don't want to come across as judgmental or shaming. My goal here is simply to shine a light on these dynamics and have an open, honest discussion about them. Because I truly believe that the only way we're going to overcome these double standards is by addressing them head-on. The article goes on to offer even more tips for concealing a promiscuous past, things like pretending past partners were abusive, creating elaborate cover stories, and even enlisting friends to help maintain the lie. And it's just, wow, the lengths that some women feel they have to go to. It's really quite sad and disturbing. But again, I think it speaks to the immense societal pressure that women face. The article even acknowledges that the typical high-value guy is going to be concerned about a woman's sexual history because he's unplugged and recognizes that her past is indicative of her future behavior. Now, I know a lot of you might disagree with that sentiment. And I can certainly understand the argument that a person's sexual past shouldn't define or limit their future. But the reality is, a lot of men do place a huge emphasis on a woman's sexual history, whether that's fair or not. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration and resentment comes from. Women are told they can be as sexually free and empowered as they want. But then they face the very real consequences of that in their dating and relationship lives. It's a tough spot to be in. Ultimately, I think the key is finding partners who are truly open-minded and don't judge based on sexual history. The article even acknowledges that some men are actually not bothered by a woman's lively past. But it then goes on to dismiss those men as new age, progressive, liberal, left-leaning, beta males. Ouch. That's a pretty loaded and dismissive characterization. And it just goes to show how deeply ingrained these attitudes are. The idea that a man who doesn't care about a woman's sexual history must be some kind of weak, beta male is really problematic. In reality, I think the healthiest approach is to find a partner who values you for who you are, not who you've been with in the past. Someone who is secure enough in themselves and their relationship to not feel threatened by your history. Those are the kinds of people we should all be aspiring to connect with. Look, I know this is a sensitive and controversial topic, and I don't claim to have all the answers. But I do think it's important that we have these conversations and try to unpack the complex dynamics at play. Because at the end of the day, the idea that women should have to lie, deceive, and essentially erase their pasts in order to be accepted by their partners is just wrong. It speaks to the deep-seated double standards and societal pressures that women face. And I believe the only way we're going to overcome that is by shining a light on it and challenging those norms. So I encourage all of you, regardless of gender, to really think about your own biases and preconceptions when it comes to sexual history. Try to be more open-minded and less judgmental. And most importantly, focus on finding partners who value you for who you are, not who you've been with. Thank you for joining Love Lab Lounge on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content on personal development and relationship advice. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so feel free to leave a comment below.